Recently I made a 1-year bulking transformation video, which you can watch by clicking in the corner, where I essentially talk about my past year of bulking. I show my measurements, I show how much my lifts went up, and I also show some progress pictures. And I got a comment under this video saying that my waist measurement went up too much and my arms didn't grow enough compared to my waist measurement. And the problem is that I'm going to realize when I cut down that most of the gains that I got on my arms were just fat. My waist measurement went up by a little bit less than 2.5 inches. It's around 2.3 or something like that, and my arm measurement got up 1.2 inches, which I also wrote in the comment. But today I am not going to answer the comment. The point of this video is not to prove the commenter wrong, although I will also do that at the end, but rather the point is to explain body fat gain on the bulk, because I feel like a lot of people do not understand it. They don't understand waist measurements, they do not understand how body fat works. And that's why I'm here today. So now I'm going to explain to you why this waist measurement gain compared to my arm measurement gain is actually a pretty good ratio, or at least definitely not bad. The number one thing is your waist is bigger by default than your arms, so it's automatically going to gain more. Because when you look at gain, you shouldn't just look at plain numbers, you should look at percentages. Because when it comes to arm gains, gaining an inch on your arms is completely different than gaining an inch on your waist. Now if you go back to the 1-year bulking transformation video, you can see that my waist is more than twice the size of my arm measurement. And so with that said, it's not really surprising that it's going to go up twice as much as my arm measurement, which by the way, it actually didn't go up twice as much, because my arms went up 1.2 inches and my waist went up 2.3 or something like that. So we're already pretty good. Your arms will never go up as much at the same time as your waist, because for most people their waists are going to be at least twice as big as their arms. Like realistically, 1 inch added to a 15-inch arm, which would make it 16 inches, is a way bigger difference than 1 inch added to a 33-inch waist, which would make it 34. You don't even notice the second one, whereas the first one makes a giant difference because your waist is way bigger. So essentially, let's give an easy example. If your arms are 15 inches and your waist is 30 inches, that means that 1 inch of gain on your arms is the same as 2 inches of gain on your waist, because your waist is twice as big. My second point is that your waist proportionately has a higher ratio of fat to everything else than your arms. Look at my arms. Here we got my arms. Look at this. This is the fat. This is the fat that is on my arms. Even if you look at the fatty part, like this, at the triceps, it's still way lower than when you look at my waist, which is way fatter by default. Like, this is like literally 10 times the amount of fat here than it was here. Which means that when you're bulking correctly, 1 inch of gain on your arms is automatically going to be more muscle compared to fat than on your waist. And it means that when you take an example where you only gain pure body fat, no muscle, no blood, no nothing, only body fat, your waist will automatically gain proportionately to its own size more inches than your arms, because you store less fat in your arms. So that means if you have 15-inch arms and a 30-inch waist, when you gain 1 inch on your arms and 2 inches on your waist, that already means that you gained muscle and not only pure fat, because it wouldn't be possible. Third thing, and this is probably the most important that a lot of people do not understand, if you would only gain pure lean tissue, your body fat percentage would go down. In order to maintain your body fat percentage, because it's a percentage, we're not talking about how much body fat you have in pounds, we're talking about how many percent of your body is body fat. If you want that percentage to maintain while you're gaining lean mass, you also have to gain fat mass, and that fat mass has to go somewhere. And that means that the bigger you get, the bigger your waist measurement will be at the same exact body fat percentage. You know why? Let's take two examples. We have a guy who is 100 pounds. Obviously, a normal person is not going to be 100 pounds, but I'm just doing this for the sake of simplifying the maths. We got a guy who is 100 pounds heavy, and he has 20 pounds of fat of those 100 pounds, which means that his body fat percentage is going to be 20%. We got another guy who is 200 pounds heavy, and he also has 20 pounds of fat on his frame, which means that for him that's only going to be 10% body fat, because he's not 100 pounds, he's 200. So by that you understand the body fat percentage is a ratio. And then let's say we have a guy who is 200 pounds and he's 20% body fat right now. He gains 50 pounds, which means that now he's 250 pounds. If he remained at 20% body fat, 10 pounds of those 50 pounds that he gained had to be pure fat. Otherwise his body fat percentage would be lower now because he has more lean mass right now. If he hadn't gained any body fat while gaining those 50 pounds and all of them would have been lean mass, that would have meant that now his body fat percentage is not 20% but 16%. But he maintained the 20% body fat, which means that 10 pounds of those 50 pounds were fat, and that fat has to go somewhere, and that will show on your waist measurement, which essentially means that the more jacked you get, the bigger your waist measurement will be at the exact same body fat. If you get more jacked and your waist measurement stays the same, you got lower body fat percentage, which means that if you have gotten more muscular, your waist measurement will get bigger anyways, no matter what you do. And another thing that gets ignored by a lot of people is your waist measurement is not only fat. I know you use it to measure how much more fat you're getting, but when you measure your waist, there's a lot of muscles included in that, which if you get bigger, they will stick out and they will take up more space. So you can simply just train your abs, grow them, get bigger abs, and that will equal a bigger waist measurement without gaining any fat. And I definitely grew my abs a lot in the past year, which also means that a large portion of the measurement gain that I gained on my waist measurement is going to be muscle and not actually fat. And as we already talked about it, your waist measurement is not only fat, but it's not only fat and muscle, it's fat, muscle, organs, food, a bunch of shit that we got in there. And do you know what happens when you bulk compared to cutting or simply just maintaining? You eat more food, and especially when you go from a cut to a bulk, your waist measurement will literally change in a matter of a few weeks because now you're eating more food, which means that there's more food here, which means that your stomach sticks out more, so your waist measurement automatically gets bigger without you gaining any fat, any muscle, anything. If you don't believe me, if you're bulking right now, measure your waist now. Then eat a diet amount of food for a week. It will not hurt you, it doesn't matter, it's only for a week, and then at the end of that 1 week, measure your waist. I guarantee you that it's going to be smaller, and not because you lost weight or any of that shit, it's simply because you have less food in your stomach and so it doesn't stick out as much. So I always encourage taking measurements because measurements are valuable data, but if you do not know how to interpret data that you have, it loses its value. Simply, if you have no idea what the data means, if you cannot use it, it becomes completely useless. And this is a great example of somebody who has no idea how to use measurements because he thinks that 2.3 inches of waist measurement gain compared to 1.2 inches of arm measurement gain somehow equals that you only gained fat, and the large portion of the gains that you got on your arms is going to be fat, and when you cut down, you're going to get to the same arm size as you were before. Which is fucking bullshit. And now comes the part where I'm going to debunk the commenter about this with the fact that last time I was at the same body weight as now, I was way more fluffy. I probably had a way higher waist measurement. I sadly don't know because I didn't take a waist measurement back then, but I took an arm measurement and my arms were also smaller. So if all of the gains or the majority of the gains that I got in this past 1 year were fat on my arms, how do you explain that I literally got fucking leaner than I was before at the same body weight and I have way bigger arms? So you shouldn't just compare your end of the bulk measurements to your end of the cut measurements. You should compare your end of the bulk measurements towards your previous end of the bulk measurements. No shit. And then we got another thing, which is pictures. Bro, have you looked at the pictures that I posted in the video? I literally look like I am almost at the same level of leanness as at the beginning of my bulk. And you think that what I gained was body fat? If everything that I had gained, or at least most of it was body fat, how the fuck do you explain that I still have the fucking small veins in my biceps? I'm not even sure if I had those when I dieted down in the first place. And that's why measurements are not enough. You also have to take pictures because those give you very valuable information. If your measurements have gone up and you look at the pictures and you have roughly the same level of ab definition, you have roughly the same level of vascularity, you're good. You gain muscle. And that means that the majority of what you gained was muscle. If the majority of what I gained would have been fat, like let's say I gained like 21 pounds. If let's say 15 of that would have been fat, I wouldn't have fucking bicep veins still. I probably wouldn't even have my forearm veins. Like, what the fuck are you on about, bro? So you shouldn't just take your measurements or just simply write down your training or just simply take progress pictures. No, you take progress pictures, you write down your training, and you write down your measurements. Boom. And you also write down your body weight, obviously. And that's it for today's video. You can click here to watch the last one. Bye.